Hello and welcome to the Geek on My Sleeve channel. This is Geek Out 65, the Outstretched Shadow, and this is a special one. We have oh, we have a disembodied voice joining us who currently has his mic muted that I can't unmute. Anyway,
All good,
but
all good.
this one means a lot to us because good friend Boltec is joining us, recommended it, was excited about it, and sorry, sidestep on top of that, he got a brand new computer and he decided to come here and play with us instead of setting up his new computer. So that means a
That's
lot to me.
that's commitment right there. So, most importantly, tell us about the computer Boltec because we're also tech geeks and we want to share in this moment.
Well, as you know, most graphics cards are pretty much out of stock everywhere right now, especially the newer ones. And I happened to be sitting down waiting to go to one of my classes earlier last week, and Facebook had an ad about Best Buy having this cyberware computer or cyber power, sorry, cyber power computer. And 5 years ago, that was the first time that I ordered a pre-built computer with cyber power. It's still running strong. That's what I've been using for the last 5 years now.
Wow.
And yeah, this one had a 3070 graphics card in it.
Wow.
And if you were to look online right now, if you could even find one, they're anywhere from like $1,100 to $1,400 just for the graphics card. And this computer was on sale for $1,500 total. So
Whoa.
I didn't technically really need a new computer, but you can't really pass that up.
Yeah.
Especially with the market and everything. I think it was a good buy.
Yeah. Yeah. So Pete, how jelly are you of
I'm pretty
Boltec's
jelly.
new
I'm
computer?
tempted. I go back and look at the sale, and yet again, I'm in the same boat where like I don't need a new computer, but if I had one, then I could tell you about the Outstretched Shadow and more.
uh yes, yes.
And you
So
Anyway,
review two different books at the same time with two different computers.
yep.
oh, all the
I'm
power.
tempted to do. Oh, it's kind of like the anime glasses pull off the dramatic reveal, but instead do it where I'm like switching viewpoints, and then like I'm the front view, and I'm like the over top view, and I click it and it switches,
Mm,
and I get that dramatic look.
yeah.
So I might do a
Yeah.
multi-camera thing eventually.
Yeah. So if you want to support Peter's tech addiction, um, links down below to show us some love. And as always, we appreciate those of you who are able to join us for the live stream and also appreciate all you guys catching this on the replay. Um, yeah. Baltac, thank you for encouraging us to play more in the fantasy genre. It takes a lot for us to pull Peter out of the lit RPG playground, playhouse, clubhouse. Oh wait, that's trademark now. Um,
I can't
but
really give much more of a recommendation than this used to be my favorite book series before I found um, the Stormlight Archive. So pretty
okay,
high praise.
that is extremely high praise. Yeah, Brandon Sanderson fanboys all the way. And yeah, for me, it was a lot of fun. Like the fantasy genre is what really got me into like reading. Margaret Weiss, Tracy Hickman, the Dragonlance series, kind of like was when I got pulled in and physically started reading a lot more books before I got on the Audible bandwagon. And for me, this book really had a lot of the same feels. Um, very traditional fantasy, yet at the same time, kind of its own twist to it. I'm trying to think, Pete, aside from Brandon Sanderson stuff, how much have you played in the fantasy genre? I know I tried to get you to read Dragonlance once upon a time.
Yeah, that was back when IRL was a thing.
Yeah,
I would have to look back because Brandon Sanderson for the Mistborn series,
that was your gateway.
that was really getting into it all.
Yeah. So, Boltec, you've done the whole trilogy, right?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
many times.
We'll try our best. Peter and I stopped at the end of this book, so we'll try to keep the spoilers only to the Outstretched Shadow. But yeah, like why did it rank up there for you so high? Because I know you're also a pretty avid reader as well. We've talked about it was like Aragon, a number of other fantasy series.
Yeah, I did a lot of
So
sci-fi as well.
a lot of
I really
sci-fi as
enjoyed
well.
the Star Wars. As they continued on in that plot theme or whatever is very nice. I don't really know. I mean, his character Kellen, is kind of relatable, I guess.
Hmm.
If I were to have crazy magical powers, I mean, he did a pretty good job getting into those. I mean, you kind of see the beginning of it in this first book, but there's
Hmm.
so much more that happens. So even if you guys don't end up reviewing the last two, you should definitely check them out, I think.
Yeah.
This is definitely a book one to the series. They're just painting a broad horizon. There's,
Hmm.
we just got a glimpse of the high magic. We got a glimpse of the, what do they call it? Wild magic.
Mm-hmm.
We know centaurs can't do the magic. We're getting introduced to the elves that can't, but can, but maybe do magic. And then we have the
Mm,
whole overarching, outstretched shadow or the demon race.
yeah, I thought the elves couldn't do magic. They have their own
They
wheelhouse
have like
of
the small magics quote, right?
okay. Yeah,
They
yeah.
they gave up their magic. They used to be able to do magic, right? But they gave it up to do
Yeah, it's
something back in
probably
the day.
part of
Okay.
the Great War.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it very much felt like a traditional fantasy book to me, and I was kind of surprised when I went back and checked the publication date that it was 2003, because like it just reminded me so much of Margaret Weiss, and Tracy Hickman, and just like all that stuff from, and what's the other guy that does Dritz? So like RJ Salvador, like good old traditional fantasy, but it's a newer series, and it it's definitely one of those, like, I guess we've been spoiled a little bit with the lit RPG where it's like 10 hours on average, give or take. So like everything has to just pick up real quick. Yet this book, like you get that slow roll in the beginning on the world building, right? Like as you hang out with Kellen in the main, was it referred as like the Golden City or whatnot?
City of Golden Bells, I think, or something, or City of Golden
Or
Yeah.
something.
Golden City, City of a Thousand Bells. And then, yeah, I think there's a couple other names.
Yeah. So like for me, it took a little bit to get into it, but it was enough that kind of like piqued my interest. And yeah, like the world building from there, we just keep going and going. And then what's this? I have a sister, and the unicorn takes me to meet my sister. And
Yeah, first interaction with the unicorn. I got to get my Dragon Ball Z reference in here, but Dragon Ball or unicorns play by Dragon Ball's flying Nimbus rules, kind of. Instead of being, pure of heart, you've got to be a virgin. But then the sister goes on to say it's all, primarily mindset as well.
Yeah, and not only that, but for him to get his aid, he has to stay um, a virgin and not married for, was it like a year and a day after that?
Yeah.
And there, I definitely had a couple laugh out loud moments when Kellen was doing his best to duck and dodge as he becomes kind of like this hero, right? Yeah, it was the centaur girl who was
I can't
really
think of her name. But yeah, she was laying it
putting on
on.
her advances. Yeah. There was a couple other moments there. So I got a good chuckle out of that. And yeah, like Kellen really does read as I don't know, like teenage boy, right? Like he's 16, 17 at the start of the series. Going through all the challenges of teenageness.
Not fitting in.
Yeah. Um, Before I hopped on, I started back towards the beginning to try to like refresh my memory about the beginning, and he just stands out as an outcast, like because of, we find out later, because of the Great War, that magic is pretty scarce. So like the same humans kind of like breed, right? So like they stay within the same family. So all the mages are like skinny, lanky, not like very tall, and then he's just like big and gangly, right? Like just looks different, doesn't quite fit in, yet he's essentially not, they don't use the term prince because like the archmage is was it like they vote on it or
Yeah, he's
whatnot?
like, well, he's like the president of the city, basically, right?
Yeah, so like he's pretty high up there, yet um early on in the book, as he discovers the wild magic, he's like cleaning out gutters and sewers or whatever, right? um yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a very good, interesting introduction to the magic. I think the first spell he does is a finding spell for his key.
Mm-hmm.
And at first it's like, oh no, he's lost his control. But then, as soon as he's where he needs to be, he would have
He
done the
goes and
action
does that,
anyway.
right?
So it's kind of, you know, helping other people out and getting what you need, which, yeah, I thought it was a good introduction to it. The one thing that still I'm curious about is, what is it, Shelkin, the unicorn, for why he can't ever pay or contribute to any of the wild magic things. We see time and time again, like when the unicorn, the young unicorn broke its leg in the rabbit hole, he wasn't able to help. And then, a couple
Well,
other
I
instances.
maybe Boltec can chime in on that, but I
We
think
may or may not find
Or
out
I
in the
was
he
next
gonna
week or
say,
two.
I
I
think
don't think they say it in book one, other than that he can't.
my take on it was he can't participate when there's anybody that doesn't meet his criteria. Because like
Well, but that doesn't make sense with the unicorns.
well, it does because his sister was the one doing the magic.
But then why wouldn't the other unicorns follow the same rule?
Because they're not, it was their offspring, right?
Well, there was
We
quite a few other. I think there was at least 6 or 7 unicorns that came with him. But
Or okay,
it's
so
definitely
maybe
harder, right? I can tell you, it's definitely harder for the unicorns to do stuff like that. But I think it's just a proximity thing. I think that if they wanted to, they could still share in the price of the spell by giving up, hairs or from their tail or whatever it is. It's just they can't really be near somebody that's like that, or that's what causes them discomfort anyway.
Yeah, we saw a bit of that like when they first mount up and leave. That if he gets too close to his sister, he gets uncomfortable, and because of her big major spell on how to get away.
It's funny, Kellen doesn't realize, why, for the longest time, he doesn't realize why his sister can't come near Falcon, so.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that really helps me with the immersion when I'm reading different books. Like, he just seems like a teenager, you know what I mean? Like, I've read some other books where, like, the authors have trouble getting into these characters' shoes or their eyes or whatever, but, like, he's an awkward, naive in a lot of ways teenager who's just left everything he knows, thrown into a different world, trying his best to prove himself, yet constantly finds himself with his foot in his mouth, or not really the butt of the joke, but yeah. One of the really interesting things, or at least for me, when it comes to these types of stories, is magic system. So, like,
how many books do you see that have two completely opposite types of magic systems in the same world?
Yeah, and they very much are opposite. And I didn't really appreciate that until I went back and re-listened to it the second time. But we get introduced to.
Are they though?
Well, let's break it down.
So for the wild magic, it's because they want to honor asking people to share in the burden or to pay it themselves. But like when Dahlia heals the centaur with the bee stings, she uses a keystone to more or less absolve her of her needing to pay, because she utilizes the power from the keystone. And the high magic.
And no. The keystone is the personal power that it takes to do the spell. You still have the cost, like the price of the thing that it wants you to do is always there. The keystone is just the personal power itself to fuel the healing part.
Because in that example, the second part was that she had to go and
clean out the bog, right?
Well, I think that was for the unicorns.
Oh, right. That was the unicorn healing one.
Yeah, for the centaur, it was to go to the village and let the elders know.
Well, and that's where I felt like it was skewed, because telling the elders versus a year of hard labor.
Yeah.
Okay. I could understand them being completely different. But at the same time, the difference in the keystones for all the people in the City of Thousand Bells wearing them, and then because they don't have the innate talent to stop people from taking their magic, it's more or less not tainted or not specific, as well as the keystone's different, because when Dahlia does the keystone, she says, hey, only the mage who made it can pull the energy from it, but they use a different kind, as well as we run into the incident at the end when Kellen is the one to activate it, but it's also because it's an amalgamation or a combination of everybody. So, yeah.
And the other thing with the wild magic, as we learn, is what was the term they use? But like they pretty much imply that there's like gods or deities involved. So does that sound right, Boltec?
Yeah, there's something like Kellen. I think it scares him at first, but he feels like he's been raised in the city where all he knows is rules. That's what the high magic is.
Structure,
it's completely devoid of
no
emotion.
change.
They've had the same spells for thousands of years, and I think that's why they're able to use the cities, all of the citizens, they never leave. They're always there, right? It's always the same people. And I think of it as like they're basically charging batteries, like every time they wear that talisman around their neck. And because there's no emotions evolved, I think it's a lot easier. I think that's why the high mages can use all of that sword power.
And why they can be very specific. Because I remember as I was going through the second time, Kellen was talking about how boring we have high magic and then wild magic. So the high magic that he's getting trained in from the city, they're pretty much like pulling and charging those mana batteries, quote unquote, from the whole population for the elite to do what they do. So like they can be more careless and spend more quote unquote mana or magic, however you want to describe it, on all these spells, because they have this like massive, like this is essentially the main last refuge for humanity, right? At least that's how they describe it. So you have like all of humanity that they're siphoning this mana from and charging it up to do what they do.
But that's where also sidestep, there's a lot more structure in the high magic for how to cast a spell. And
They can be specific.
The runes and the components and everything else going into it,
all of it, yeah.
where you're able to do that with the wild magic, things to help and to assist, and like setting the unicorn's leg, that way there's less for the magic to do, reducing it. And then
and the more specific you are with the wild magic, the higher the cost, which is the incentive to be more vague and try to find ways to be kind of like creative of how to get where they want to go. Because if they're too specific and try to treat it like high magic, the cost would be a lot higher. Both in my understanding, both the mana that they use and the other price deemed by the deity or whatever that goes and whispers in their ears at the end there.
Well, that was another thing that was kind of weird with the wild magic. The sister seems to know what is asked every time, but when we've seen Kellen do it, he doesn't always know what's going to be asked, or it's such a big picture idea they try not to tell him like towards the end. And I think part of it has to do with the fact that he's, I forget the verbiage, but it's essentially like a warrior mage versus a healing mage.
I wasn't sure if you guys had found out yet or not at the end of the first book whether he was a night mage or not.
Oh yes. Yeah, night mage. Yeah, we get that right towards the end when we're hanging out with the elven.
Yeah, so Night Mage is like literally super focused on the combat version of wild magic, right? So even on his best day, he's probably not going to be better than Adalia's worst day at healing stuff, right? Like he can do it, but he's never going to attain that level of ease with healing things.
Right.
Neither is Adalia going to be able to, do what Kellen does.
Right.
And that's kind of interesting as well. It takes in the lit RPG world, it would be your, initial IRL stats that transfer over and give you an advantage. But this is IRL fantasy that, takes the attributes that you already have and really works with them. Yeah, I'm excited to see where all that goes.
You'll have a lot more understanding once you start to do the second and third book, as far as about the mage prices and the stuff that he can do and she can do, and even the high magic stuff. It'll come full circle. You'll understand.
There's
a lot of
Go ahead.
points that I didn't get answered, but that's book one for you, where we just got a glimpse of the demon stuff and of the previous war, and then with the magic systems, we still just got a hint, as well as we got to see the centaurs and humans living with them, and kumbaya, and then we got to see like a glimpse of the elven, but they were still dealing with their own stuff. And
The elves are definitely very interesting.
Yeah, it's always fun when they kind of like change up the culture of the different races a lot. I got a kick out of the elves version of politeness. You don't ask direct questions. Yeah, you make statements of I ponder, I wonder why,
It would be good to know. That's a good way to start one,
Yeah. It would be good to know, or I wish I knew, or,
I think people should embrace that and use that more often, because I can't tell you how many times people come up to me and they're like, well, what about this? Well, how do you do that? And I just stare them down, click the button on my phone to open Google, and I'm just like...
You know what? Conveniently, Peter has a YouTube video. Go here.
Yeah,
yep. Yeah.
Plug my YouTube video. Yeah. No, I wouldn't do well, because when people just make statements, it's like, well, that wasn't a question. I'm glad I know what you're thinking. Great. Thanks for sharing.
Well, the other half of that is the elves, they're so polite, where if you don't, you don't have to answer, right? Because it's not a question. So it's, if you don't want to talk, then you don't have to say anything, and it's not really rude.
There we go. But yeah, their culture was interesting. It was nice to see the symbiosis of the centaurs and the humans kind of in the outer small villages. Got to see some of the politics as the city, where even though like the city is just a small portion of the overall land that they claim, and that whole escape there for Kellen when him and the unicorn make their run.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
Yeah.
Oh man, what I'm most excited about is our team we're assembling, because we've got Kellen as the frontline, warrior style mage, and then we've got Adalia as the healer, and then we've got our mount or our unicorn, and then right at the end we get, I can't think of her name. We get the half demon, half human chick, which we're still trying to figure out where she fits, but currently she's our spidey senses tingling.
Yes. Where she also knows how to use a bow.
But it's just like, we have people from all over. We have people from the City of Thousand Bells that are now wild mages, and then we've got the demon side. And yeah, I'm curious about the mountains and if they have dwarves.
With our powers combined.
Yeah, we're building an interesting cast.
Yeah. And oh man, we're bouncing around anyway. So the big climax for this one was we had to take this special keystone over to the mountain, right where the energy is, and we meet our half demon chick, and we have the what's Adalia's boyfriend's name?
Jermaine.
I'm
gonna try to say it.
Yeah, just the whole racial tension between our half demon and him, and the feels at the end when we've now shed blood together, we are family nobody's going to take my little half demon girl away from me, you know. Oh, the feels. And yeah, like, talk about the cliffhanger with the wild magic prices that they charge, like Adalia's. Go ahead, Pete. What do you
So
got? Break it down.
Keystones is banking stored energy or storing your energy. Kellen is always helping out Idalia with her price, cleaning out the bog, setting the leg, going to the Centaur village to help out there. So, fixing the tree of the oak, dryad, thank you. But I feel like he's banked quite a bit of bonus points. And
he get credit?
they don't come out and say it, but I feel like from the beginning it was more like brought him to the child who lost her cat in the tree because it knew or was testing him to see what he would do. And so since he took it upon himself to do it anyway, it's bonus points, as well as he's constantly been doing extra and helping other people pay their price, slash has, morally been a good person or had a good moral compass to where they may not ask as much, and which is interesting with the whole concept of your price is not the same because you're not the same person.
Have you guys had any history of like the Great War and stuff yet?
A little bit at the end. They pretty much said that's why the humans are behind their walls, because they blamed the wild magic. It gave a brief something or other in regards to the elves and the way they are now. And then...
So you don't know what happens when you refuse to pay a price?
No.
Of the wild
we haven't gotten into that.
Well, they talk a little bit
good
about the demons, right? Because Kellen was all worried about turning to the dark side. Yeah, like that eventually would make him evil. And we find out that of the wild mages that turn,
they lose their power.
Yeah,
which then gets supplemented with the demon's power that they can retract at any time.
Right, and the way that they lost their power was because they refused to pay the mage price that was set for them. So
yeah,
I mean, I don't think it's like a one and done kind of thing, but eventually you keep wanting to do stuff but not paying for it. When you try to call the wild magic, nothing happens anymore. So then those guys, they want that power still, and that's how the demons, got them on their side.
There are no philosopher's stones. Equivalent exchange. That's what we do here, boys. Oh wait, wrong series. Sorry. Yeah, the magic system's fun. I enjoy how it's different, and the wild magic and the high magic. Really looking forward to seeing the politics and everything. We got the foreshadowing of, their mom came from like the mountain people. Does that sound right?
Mountain traders.
Yeah. So she was there for a bit and then she took off. So I'm looking forward to that family reunion, because come on, you can't introduce Mama and then not give us some sort of family reunion later on in the series.
They didn't even try to fake us out with the she's dead. Like she left.
Yeah.
And then
what do you guys think about, like you said, we're bouncing around, but what do you think about the let me take all of your bad memories to make it better kind of thing? Like, where do you draw the line? I think there are some high mages that, if you had a traumatic experience because
right,
you got, your house got burned down or you got burned or whatever, maybe for somebody healing, that might be better not to remember that. But what about Kellen, where he got all of his sister's, memories excised?
It's a slippery slope too, because like you are a collection of your memories, right? The lessons learned, so on and so forth. So like if I was Kellen right there, like I'd probably have some sort of a breakdown. Like, what do you mean? Like all my memories of my sister got taken away. What other memories got taken away, right? Like what other little um personality combing, adjusting um, happened, because we get to see it with the little girl of the merchants, where he didn't only take them away, he kind of like reworked some of them to where anything that had to do with an obsession with magic got replaced with
Right. So
music,
I think it's
right?
completely wrong for him to take away the, they don't want female high mages, right? That's not
Mm-hmm.
been a thing ever. So
Mm-hmm.
it's horrible that he's doing that, but also, you know, he helped her out in his own way because it was just the hierarchy of the city. No female mages. So what about an amazing female musician? I don't know. I
I
get
for
that slippery
me,
slope.
like I just think it's wrong all the way around. Um, the only way you're gonna grow and develop and deal with it is by having the full context.
Yeah,
I think it would be cool in some regards to, min max my stats, but at the other time, it's
Well, it just comes
not.
down to the motto of the city. You know,
Well,
everything they
yeah,
do
it's
for
definitely a
the good of the
control
city.
tactic.
mm-hmm.
That's basically the city's motto. And you can have some people that do it for the right reasons, and quite a few doing it for the wrong reasons.
Well, we talked about it. We learned a bit about the method to their madness, or the reason behind it, because of the Great War, right? And why, like, as the last big um, you know city for humanity, why they're doing what they can to protect them. But to circle back, like, I think the mind wiping overall is wrong, but just like anything, I could see it as being a potentially good tool for um, people who have like some extreme trauma or something, to be able to kind of like go and help them in a way. But we know that the way the city is run, they're not the ones getting the mind wipes, right? Like the poor and the downtrodden are kind of left to their own devices. Like, I guess they do have some semblance of socialism where, like Kellen talks about, everybody's guaranteed a roof over their head, everybody's guaranteed like opportunities. It may just be like one room roof over your head, but they don't really turn anybody out yet.
Yeah,
The only
they
way,
make they make I mean, they have spells over the entire city, right? No area of the city is any less protected than other areas, but
mm-hmm,
they definitely have a lower class, a mid class, and a high class.
right, right. And the only way to get to the top is to marry into a merchant's family, or produce a mage, which those are pretty limited because it seems to be a bloodline thing. It sounds like there's not too many spontaneous
Well, and
mages
that's
coming to
what
be.
is backwards because if everybody has the innate power and if we didn't deny the magic, tell it to, that we can accept the price and the fact that everybody is a battery, I don't see why they can't utilize it.
Yeah,
It's, being discouraged.
For the high magic, I think you're literally born with a switch on or a switch off, and if the switch is off, there's not really anything you can do but produce the juice.
Okay.
but then
But what about like forcing open a channel kind of deal? Like, I don't know. If it has an opportunity to build up.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think that's why one of the reasons why the high mages, comfort themselves is because if they're not going to use it, they're going to lose it anyway. So we might as well, save it up in these little necklace batteries.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's their justification anyway.
Their taxes, we're going to take your life essence to make sure it only rains between midnight and sunrise.
Yeah, and they do a lot of cool, convenient things, but they also never have to pay for their own personal stuff either, right? They just take some more of that
Well,
pool of
but
energy.
it also, I mean, like the end of the book where the elves aren't getting the rain and it's drastically changing everything. Yeah, they're getting convenience, but it's not worrying or being aware of the repercussions. Granted, they've been doing it for quite some time, so I'm sure nature has adjusted, but all
Well,
the
they
people
also
they
it doesn't necessarily not rain. They
yeah,
just
yeah, it just gets shifted.
fall between the midnight, the evening hours when nobody's out and about. So it's just like a delay kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I think you guys were
Not so
talking
much
about two
shifting.
different. You were Pete. Were you talking about the Elven City or
I
the
was
human
using
city?
that as an extreme
his-
reference
right,
for
right.
the
Gotcha,
city of
gotcha.
the thousand bells.
Gotcha. So, yeah. What other cool big moments and things did you guys enjoy in this book? I just overall had fun with the fact that it was a good solid 30 hours for us of magic and world building. I thought the progression was really good. I know I said like early on, I felt like it was a bit slow, but like introducing Kellen, getting to see the main city, but then like we got to spend a little bit of time with his sister just out in the woods and seeing the overall magic in the world that's outside of the human capital, and just kind of the differences there. Then we got to spend a little bit of time in the hybrid city with the centaurs and the humans, seeing like, hey, the main golden city, this is how it is, no change, no nothing. Centaurs are just like beast of burden to the opposite end of the spectrum, live in harmony, coexist. You have like complete intermingling where like senpai will be human and Padawan will be centaur, as I go and just mix and blur all our analogies there. And then we get to go
I think
to
they're pretty common
then we get to go
words,
to
at least in
the
my vocabulary.
Elven Kingdom. And then we got to see a lot of the demons. Like we just got a good thorough introduction to this realm, right?
Yeah,
Realm without
one
sun.
thing.
What was that, Boltec?
I just say the realm without sun or whatever they call it.
Yeah. Feast off their misery. It's how we get the third magic of what was it? Demon magic.
Death magic, yeah. The
Death
blood
magic.
sacrifice stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
You wonder
Practiced by
if they
the
just
Endarkened.
found the setting for dark mode. 'Cause I put dark mode on everything.
I don't know why it's not default. I mean, come on, my eyes.
I really like the way that the book is written because it's a lot easier for a reader to not feel left out, I guess, when the main character is also finding stuff out, brand new stuff out, the same time the reader is finding brand new stuff out. So
yeah,
I think it's a lot easier if I read because of that.
I agree with you there. And he definitely wasn't OP. We got, or sorry, overpowered. We got to see him struggle with the wild magic and deal with his fears of becoming a demon and everything. And it's only like in the final arc that we find out that he's a night mage. And
potentially a reincarnated night mage that switched sides after enslaving his dragon onto the demon side.
I'm ready for dragons. Bring
Yeah,
on the dragons.
We didn't really get an insight into what their price was, because the demons more or less got banished to, dark mode. The elves lost their magic. The humans cast off the wild magic and, are going all Attack on Titan, hide inside our safe little walls.
Have you gotten to season 4 yet?
I have not, though I keep
Oh
seeing a
man.
bunch of memes where they're like necks and then they're,
Yeah,
Levi
sorry.
going after him.
Sorry.
Anyway.
You need to get to season 4. Carry on.
The one thing that was, or in addition, that was interesting is the bully centaur guy. I can't think of his
Cormac.
name. Or what was that?
Cormac.
Gosh.
Cormac. Yeah, and how he's charged with taking the lady's cart for a year, but then life changes and he no longer has to pay the price.
Yeah, they talked about that, and I forget how she broke it down,
Or
but I think
so
it comes down to intention and the fact that the circumstances have changed, right? I guess, using the bog analogy where that was her price. I guess if there was a tornado or some other thing that came in and took care of it or eliminated it, the wild magic isn't going to punish you for that.
Right. I think it's just based, like you said, on intention. If they're willing to do it, just because something happens that they aren't, they physically can't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, it's not really going to be bad repercussions because of that.
Yeah. And he turned out to be a much better guy in the end, becoming part of the tribe in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boltec, we need to get you in on more of these to help Peter and myself with the name recognition. That way we're not just Chicky Poo and, four-leg half
character number
human thing.
7.
Yeah.
Just wait until you guys start the Aragon books. I'm just saying. Aragon is amazing.
I want to go back and revisit it. I read them when they first were coming out. I think I got through the first 2, but the main series is 4, right?
There's 4 total books then.
Yeah. So, too many good books. And Peter and I just want to go back and reread all our favorites again and again.
That's exactly what I do already. So. But one of the authors for this one, it's Kevin. Wait, who is it? Mercedes Lackey and James Mallory, I believe, is the author for this series.
Mm-hmm.
Mercedes Lackey is one of the first fantasy readers that I had. She's got a whole different series with a whole different world of stuff that is almost as amazing as the Outstretched Shadows series as well. So
really,
yeah, there's plenty. It's not like she has a lot of books, right? And there's a world and a timeline that a lot of them follow.
Mm-hmm.
And most of them are like trilogies, like this one. So if you ever want to see some more of the Mercedes Lackey stuff, she's got some really good things as well.
Well, if that's your way of saying you want to geek out with us more often during our live streams, then challenge accepted, good sir. Challenge accepted.
So sidestep the Mark of Kings, which is a dual author book. Kind of reminds me of the same feel.
Yeah.
For fantasy-esque. Except for the big difference here is in that one, the senpai is a lot more involved in the upbringing and was there from our main guy's beginning. Mm-hmm. Where in this one, the unicorn shows up for comedic relief and a nudge in the right direction. And I guess is banishing magic, but yeah. or nullifying
Shotgun
magic.
has a good sense of humor.
Yes. And fashion sense when he wants to critique Kellen's hat choices. But yeah. In a way, Pete, I think some of what you're talking about is also just like the fantasy trope formula in a way.
Or, yeah, I guess the big reason I brought it up was I'm curious about the other author. Because I know he has several, I guess, more Dragonborn geared books.
Who doesn't love a Dragonborn? But yeah. So we're starting to approach the last little stretch here, and as we always say, it's hard to do a book justice in an hour or so, but want to give opportunities to hit on any key moments or other interesting things we missed. For those who haven't read the book and decided to go along with us, spoilers anyway. Any good reasons or rhymes. For me, it was just a lot of fun. The pacing was good, the scaling was good, the world building was good. As Boltec pointed out, like the way we got kind of like introduced to the world and the magic system and everything, like we kind of learned along the way with Kellen. Granted, that didn't stop us from also getting other multiple viewpoints, which was fun. Like when we were getting the Darkins point of view, and just how that whole faction works there. Like we got to see their first attempt at unsettling the world and trying to impact the elves, right? So I'm sure that's going to just ramp up more so in book 2, Boltec. No spoilers, please.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential in every direction because the High Mage was, hey, we've got to get my outlaw son and we've got to do this and we've got to do that. And because of the sisters scrying, but they were able to give him forewarning. And, what do you mean there's centaurs? There's obviously no centaurs. And then with all the 0 return on investment from the High Mage, he's getting a lot of flack. So we might see a pivot and see someone new coming in.
That's right.
Which I feel like we're gonna go after the mountains next, and then we're gonna have the reunion with the mother. But I could be wrong. I'm excited to see.
No spoilers, Boltec.
So I said no comment.
Like you point out, Pete, I'm really curious to see what happens to Daddy High Mage. Because he pretty much, this last little excursion out to try to get more territory kind of blew up in his face. So it'll be interesting to see.
A lot of magic, still have a lot of demon spawn or whatever.
Yeah.
Pulling their illusion parlor tricks, feeding false information, or pulling the strings.
Not the term they use in this book, but like dark friends or whatever who are part of the city. Causing their challenges and their chaos. Yeah. What else you guys got?
Obviously this is one of my favorite book series. I already told you that. I've reread it dozens of times over the last couple decades. That's a long time, a couple decades. It's almost been out. 2 years from now, that book will be out for 20 years now?
Yeah, couple decades. So
you will satisfy your, curiosity, we'll say. I mean, the High Mage is an important part of the upcoming, second book. If this book was, you're playing a movie, and this book is just playing, right? Book 2 is like fast forward times 2, and book 3 is like fast forward times 4. I mean, it really, really ramps up towards the end of it. So
good.
If you thought this one was exciting, then you're not going to be disappointed with the next 2.
we finally have our Night Mage relatively trained, sister and potentially soon to be brother-in-law, have embraced their love and passion for each other. And yeah, more demon spawn to come, and potentially dragons, we hope.
Yep. Neither dragons. Yeah. Like I didn't even believe that little fake out at the end there. Like, oh yeah, good job. We saved everybody. We dispelled it. Oh, main character's dead. Story's over. So when we got to see it from the sister's perspective, I was like, oh, just give it a minute.
Right. And then, we get all that little bit of tension and waiting, and we don't even get the reunion. It's just like, oh yeah, they're here.
Yep.
Okay. Story's over. Thanks for playing. We'll see you guys next book for another installment of the I just had it. The what trilogy?
Outstretched Shadow Trilogy. Or Obsidian Trilogy, sorry.
Obsidian Trilogy. So yeah. For those of you guys who hung out with us, haven't read it yet, you got time to catch up before we work in book 2 into our rotation. Probably also going to work on getting Aragon into our rotation, force Peter out of the lit RPG realm, and get some good old fantasy fix for the rest of us.
Yeah. It's not that I dislike fantasy. It's just that I really enjoy lit RPGs.
I hear you.
We're gonna have to unlight that RPG for you so you do some.
So, Pete, what we got next week?
Bow.
Oh, he's on it this time.
Yep, set it up. So this is going into next week. Geek Out 66, Watcher's Question. Yeah, this is book 2 in the series. Short, spoiler-free blurb is a lit RPG. Surprise, surprise. But it's different because it brings the whole family along. And it's got some weird, I'm trying not to spoil it, higher power stuff going on. That's exciting. I had good response for the first one. There's currently 4 out in the series. Yeah. I'm excited.
Eagerly waiting for the fourth one to come out on Audible. I had a lot of fun binging these books. I think like every gamer fantasizes about what it'd be like to live out in one of these game worlds, but to have the whole family come through and the challenges and obstacles that you have to overcome and face while there. A lot of fun, really interesting take on the lit RPG genre. Had a blast with the first one. Looking forward to getting into the second one. Going to keep on keeping on there. We just need more weeks in 2021 to get through all these incredible series, or I don't know, eventually start doing them twice a week or something. Just having too much fun with these geek outs. Boltec, thanks for taking time to geek out with us, even though you had some fun new technology to play with.
No problem.
Yeah. What else am I forgetting, Pete?
I think that wraps it up for this one. 5 p.m. EST/EDT.
Oh man, yeah. Happy,
forgot.
not happy daylight savings time, guys. Yeah.
Clocks forward an hour.
Yeah, that totally
I don't
threw me
think
off.
I currently utilize any non-digital clock, or not. Well, I guess my microwave has one. I don't really use that.
My car auto updated today.
I guess that's true.
Wow.
but I haven't been in my car this weekend, so
On my way to the store to get my computer, it was an hour behind. On the way back, it had updated itself.
nice.
Whoa. We live in amazing times. If only we could get rid of this barbaric habit of daylight savings time. But the good news is next week we won't be playing in reality. Show up 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, reality time. Then we're going to delve into the lit RPG realm of The Watcher. And
Watcher's Question Book 2.
Book 2. And hope to geek out with you guys again here soon.
Bye.
Bye.